Hi, everybody, and welcome to Thriving Thursday. This is the Best Book Study, our bookshelf deep dive. And tonight I am sharing with you a little bit about my favorite essential oil resources, specifically those that talk, just getting down to the nitty gritty of essential oils. So maybe you are new to essential oils and you're wanting to get some resources. One of the interesting things about our relationship as being Young Living members is that we really can't promote books that um, and affiliations with people who talk about prescribing or diagnosing. So we can tell our own stories. And so tonight, I want to just talk with you about some of my favorite books that I have used over the years, and then tell you why they're my favorites, and then kind of compare them to a few that I have found or been given, and why I want just why there's so much information out there and why I'm careful about where I choose to learn from, like my sources. So let's get started just talking right from the beginning. When I first was introduced to Young Living essential oils, I was connected to a phenomenal family. All of you, of course, are a part of. It's wonderful. And one of the encouragements I had from the beginning was to read and to learn everything I could. Well, at the time, back in 2006, we of course had the internet. We did not have social media to the extent, of course, that we did today. I wasn't on social media, really didn't know anything about all that. But what's great is that double-edged sword that we have the internet. We have a lot of resources at our fingertips and different apps, but the clutch here is how we know that those are good sources. So there's some really important things that, as people are first starting, a couple weeks ago we had a call and we had someone on who was a physician and was asking questions and just saying, you know what, how do I know this is true? How do I find information? How is this? How do I know this is factual and not just, any person can really write a book these days. You don't even have to have a publisher anymore. You can just write a book and produce it on Amazon and people will buy it. So, what I want you to encourage you to do is know the really good resources and understand also the schools of thought with with the way that we talk about essential oils. So there's different schools of thought. And Deborah Rayburn, who was one of my mentors in essential oils as a naturopath and an herbalist, and she's a nutritionist. So she has almost 3 decades of experience in natural wellness and health. And her background has proven to her and has shown her that when she first started out in herbal as an herbalist, a master herbalist, she really didn't have a lot of value for essential oils because of the quality in the United States. And so when you start to look at the models that come from Europe, because well, essential oils have been used for centuries. We know that well before we came along, right? And so, but you look back into kind of the medicinal circles, the farming circles in Europe, and how they talk about best practices with growing, and then how they would use the essential oils as mainly or they would use herbs, and then how they would also distill essential oils. So the books that I have chosen are all within what we call the French model of essential oils. So the French model is falls into line with what Young Living essential oils are, and that is we will put them on our skin topically, we will inhale them, and we will ingest them. And so that's our vitality line for those of you who don't know. So all of the books, I have a stack here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. I have 6 books by one author named Gary Young. And his research, he was probably what we could call the modern father of essential oils in the last century. No one has done more for essential oil usage and essential oil research than Gary Young. And so I have leaned heavily on his research and the books that he has produced. And what's great is that a lot of these aren't just in English, there are also in other languages, and you can get a lot of his books very easily. Of course, there's some that are a little bit older that are available on Amazon. eBay. And of course, since his passing, and of course, some of those books are much, much more valuable, especially the ones that are out of print. But what you want to do then is you want to look for books that are within the French model and that have references that tell you where a plant is from. It tells you, of course, the botanical name. What's interesting is you'll find is that there are multiple species that you'll find within, for example, eucalyptus, even lavandin, that Lavandula angustifolia is the lavender we know. But a lot of times there's other species. There's a lavandin species that gets passed off as lavender within the eucalyptus family. There's multiple varieties of eucalyptus. The majority of them are grown in Australia, but they have different constituents. And so that's why within the blends that we use, even within Young Living, they are used for certain differences. Young Living, a lot of time people say, why doesn't Young Living put out a book that tells me exactly how to use these oils? Well, that's not really allowed. And that's why we do have books. And that's why our founder, Gary Young, did produce books. But you also have to look out there. There are other books that I have found or have been given by others. I really like Kurt Schnaubelt. Has a really interesting book called The Healing Intelligence of Essential Oils. I'm not supposed to say that word, am I? But that's the science of advanced aromatherapy. And so I've enjoyed reading about the plants, about his research, and he is a PhD, and how he goes a little bit more into depth of the different uses. So like, for example, orange. So we take orange and we will have orange oil that comes from the rind. But did you know we also have petitgrain? And that comes from the bark and the leaves of the tree. So when you look up those two plants, those two oils, if you will, their botanical name is exactly the same, but they come from different parts of the plant. And so that's how they're used. So it's interesting when you start using your resources and references to understand why they are, how they want you to use essential oils, and then the caution. So what you want to be aware of is books that kind of caution you against using oils outside of that French model. So the German model is strictly using it for, a lot of times, massage topically. And of course there's inhalation, because you can't put something on your skin, your largest organ, and not be inhaling it, right? You're absorbing it that way if it's going onto your largest organ. And then also, then we have the English model, which is predominantly what we have, our traditional aromatherapy. So it's all for inhalation. But again, if I'm going to be breathing something, I want to make sure it's absolutely pure. That there's nothing else in it. It's not adulterated, and it is what it is supposed to be. So that is kind of the basics of it. There are a lot of books out there. I have 4. There's one that's like an indispensable guide, all these different things. And these aren't bad things to have. If it may be something smaller for people who are just getting started. But what you want to do is make sure that, I love the books that Gary Young has written, because there's history. There talks about, some research. It ties research, which you can also go onto pubmed.gov and find research as well. And one of the things that I love too is whenever we look at the different chemical constituents, and I can compare, if I don't have a specific oil that I want to use, I can look through my books and see, oh, well, this variety of eucalyptus, or this variety of frankincense, how is it different? How could I use it instead? So those are some really important things, but I love knowing the history. There's also safety. You should have a safety guide in there. And another favorite book of mine is Gentle Babies, and that is specific for moms and women who are pregnant or have little ones, and that's up to age 5. And it kind of goes a step further than some of the reference guides, and takes on a lot of the fear. When I was a first time mom, there's a lot of anxiety, I guess, that can come with that, right? If you haven't already dealt with some of those fears, you want to do the very best. You want to make sure you're being very safe. And so I love the fact that Deborah Rayburn, with her decades of experience in herbs and nutrition and essential oils, wrote Gentle Babies to kind of help moms understand how they can be safe and how they can be confident as they use their essential oils. So those were some basics of the whys and the hows of the books that I have. And then also, if you guys have questions, I'm going to open up here in just a second to start thinking of your questions. But one of the things that I look at my books too is being able to have your personal usage section. Again, that's really nice because you can look at the information there and you can see, and I can look up an oil and see what it does, but then I can look up, if I'm specifically wanting to deal with a personal situation, what are some recommendations? So that's always really nice to have that as well. So I'm going to open it up if people have questions, and I will be happy to answer. I have to be careful not to show you my books or to make references to specific books, but if you have questions about that, I'd be happy to answer it. One other thing I did remember is that my favorite reference books also have charts for the feet and the hands. What we always say is neat on the feet. Neat means undiluted. And so you can put an oil on your feet and not dilute it, and it's going to have a really good impact. And the great thing about those feet charts is that will show you where the correlation to different organs or body systems are on your feet. And so that's really great. And then for people who perhaps are amputees, you can also use the hands. There's hand charts, and there are even ear charts. And so that's really nice to be able to put oils on those specific points in reflexology, or as we call it, VitaFlex. And that just basically means vitality through the reflexes, that we're going to get the oils on topically at the best that we can. So if you have someone who's maybe sensitive to aromas, then feet is a great place to put it. And we like to be able to, especially with babies or the elderly or someone who's not been around oils a lot, a feet is a great place to put it if you don't have a way to dilute it. I am in the camp of we rarely dilute in my house, and that's just what we're used to. But it's something that that you just do what you want to in your own home and your own comfort level. And so if anyone has questions, I'd be happy to answer those now. Looking at the chat box. Or you can just ask a question. I can't see you. For some reason, my phone is popped up. But if you guys have a question, you feel free to ask. One thing I will say, Gary Young has I have one book that I have multiple editions, and it's really nice if you ever see any of his books that are old editions and they're at a reasonable price, snatch it up. I've seen people that have gone to like used book sales, used bookstores, garage sales, and have found old reference books, and those are really amazing. You get to see a lot of information, and of course, especially in the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen the books becoming a little bit more what's the word I want to say, protective. And so some of the words that were there before that we were able to say a long time ago, well, we can't say it anymore. So it's nice to have some of those old versions that we can see. So if you ever get a chance to buy up any of his old books, please do. Okay, no questions? I mean, this was a really quick class. I wanted to give some pointers on, the best types of books. So if there aren't any questions, next week, we're going to be doing this book study for the next few weeks. And the fun thing about it is you might have books on your shelf that are just kind of waiting to be, you've had them for a long time and you don't know how to use them. So books that we are going to be naming them in the future, we'll have The Chemistry of Essential Oils. We will have Ancient Oils of Scripture. We will have, or the Healing Oils of the Bible by Dr. David Stewart, both Chemistry of Essential Oils and Oils of Ancient Scripture by Dr. David Stewart. And then we also have on our, we have a book called Inner Transformations on our book list. And then The Ultimate Balance is going to be our next multi-week book study that we're going to go through and focus on. That's going to be, these ones coming up are all going to be individual books that we're just going to take a few. I'm going to just kind of do book reviews. And then whenever that's over, then we're going to do an actual book study and go week by week through the book, The Ultimate Balance, and really focus on your body systems and talk about those. So I hope this has been helpful. And if nobody has any questions, I'll be quiet for just a minute more. Look at the chat. Do I have a favorite resource for DIY? Okay, so yes, Growing Healthy Homes is my favorite publisher, and there is a really good DIY. They have a DIY book, and then I also like Melissa Pepping's books. I'm not recalling the name of the Growing Healthy Homes DIY book, but it's been out in the last 2 years at least. And then Melissa Pepping has The Essential Home. She has, I think, 3 different books, and you can get those. I know they're on her website, Melissa Pepping, and that's Poepping. And she has a lot of great DIY recipes, house cleaning recipes. They're really, really good. And then next week, we're going to, when March comes around, we're starting out with teaching about thieves. So make sure you're connected on 7 Oily Days Essentials on Facebook, as well as our Instagram page. We're going to be giving a lot of recipes away in the next month. Okay, how many different oils? The next question: how many different oils do you use each day? Can you use too many a day? Well,
I think Laura just accidentally lost us.
what happened? What was that?
You went away.
Still?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. So how many essential oils do I use each day? And can you use too many? Well, I think that it goes back to what's going on with you in that moment. Your body is going to absorb and use the oils. The same thing with I'm trying to be really careful how I answer this because I use a lot of oils in a day. So I'm diffusing oils constantly. There are 2 specific oils that I take internally in the morning every day. I take 3 drops of each under my tongue. I don't use a capsule, just don't have time for that. And then I'm applying oils throughout the day depending on what I need. For example, I left my house this afternoon about 2:30, and I just got home about 30 minutes ago, and so 2:30 Central Time. So I've always gone for about 5.5 hours. And whenever I got home, or throughout the course of the day, I have oils with me, and I'm applying them depending on what's going on. I had a toddler that got a preschooler that got a little cranky, and so I get my oil out, I'm putting them on him. I am spraying my hands with my Thieves spray, which has thieves in it. But that's just a day-to-day. I'm using them regularly. Whenever I've gone through significant situations where I'm trying to work on a health goal, or I'm recovering from something. So whenever I had a knee surgery almost 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, and I was taking oils internally rather than using what I was using my oils internally for relief and to help me to feel good versus trying to use the medications, because I was also doing a master cleanse at the time to kind of flush all the things through that I had been exposed to in the hospital out of my system. So I've taken capsules full of oils multiple times a day. But was used to it. So I don't know personally. You can. It's interesting because we've heard of people that before. You hear all the time of people doing um, going to the emergency room. We know that having their stomachs pumped and things from pharmaceuticals. We know that that one of the leading causes of death in the United States, I don't know if it's in the top 5 anymore, but I know it's in the top 10, is pharmaceutical drugs. And so I can just tell you right now, I don't know of any Young Living. I mean, of all the years that I have used Young Living, I've never had an adverse response that I wasn't expecting. Sometimes you get a detox response. Sometimes you're in the bathroom for a while. Sometimes you have. I have had breakouts before on my skin, but it was because that was what I was going for. I'm trying to get something out of me. So I think that maybe answers your question. And of course, I'm not going to be able to play this record. I won't be able, I'll have to edit this out because I'm not supposed to say this, record it. But just so you guys know, I have I have full confidence in using essential oils and have used them with my kids internally, but it's Young Living. I'm not talking about just any oil. So one of the things that we have to be careful about, and why I am careful about even showing books, is because people will take these reference books and then they'll go buy oils from the health food store. They'll go buy cheap oils. And that's just not okay. It's not, they can't be used the same way. So I just want to encourage you guys to, research and do your research, experiment with the oils and how you like to use them the best. Are there oils that, is there an oil that I would, of course, we have a Vitality line, but I'm just going to be frank. I've taken a lot of oils internally that don't have a Vitality label. And so what does that mean for me? Well, I had confidence in it. It didn't happen overnight, but wintergreen is in BLM and we take that internally, right? When you take BLM. So let's just think this through and let's look at the cautions out there. They're out there for a reason, and just be wise about it. And that's why we need to use resource guides that are very that are steeped in research and science, not just a school of thought and fear, and also based off the herb. What the herb is different from the oil, and so just because an herb, wintergreen is one that I can think of all the time. That's why it has that lid on it, the wintergreen lid and the cassia lid, and because of their being hot. But the methyl salicylate that is naturally found in wintergreen is considered to be lethal. Okay, well, it was very effective for me after my knee surgery. So I'm just saying. I know I went all the way around the tree and came back, but that's the long and short of it. Any other questions? Can you guys still hear me? Okay. No other questions? Marlene, did I answer you okay? Was that satisfactory? Too much information? Okay, well, you all have a wonderful evening. We will see you on Monday for Monday Night Live. Those are not recorded. And then we'll be coming back next week with a little short book series. And then we'll just continue to do this throughout the month of March. And then I cannot wait to get into the Ultimate Balance book study. It's going to be really fascinating. Good night.